Welcome to the 65 TPT studios for the 2012 edition of Coach's Corner on KCChiefs.com. Coach Tom McMahon, new Chiefs Special Teams Coach. First off, welcome to Kansas City.
Thank you.
Tell us about your overall philosophy to special teams. What would you say are your core beliefs when you coach a special teams unit?
I think it has to start with your specialists. You know, from a philosophy standpoint, your specialists have to perform. So the work that you need to do in practice and get ready for games, those guys got to come out and control the field position, because that's where it all starts. You know, they're the quarterbacks of those units. So it starts there, and then from there, with the core, I think you got to be physical, you got to be disciplined, you got to be aggressive. That's my philosophy.
With those philosophy and those basics, what can guys do to show you that they belong on the special teams group, especially for maybe a third-string linebacker or a backup safety? How can those guys get on your team?
No question, it's production, you know, when they get in game situations and out on the practice field. And the other thing is, I think in this league, you see guys that play for years on teams, and what it comes down to is the number one thing is consistency. It's a guy you can trust on a cover unit, turn him around, put him on a return unit, and that's a guy that's performing game in and game out, you know, and when you need a play, he's always that guy that's consistent.
How do you grade something like that? I know tackles are probably the things that sticks out to fans, but you know, releases, maybe if he's a gunner and he's
right.
double teamed by guys on the punt. What are the little things you look for that fit that category as well?
Well, for example, you know, we'll just look at the gunner position. You know, not only at the release stage, but there's transition, you got to win in transition. But at the end of the day, if you have that speed, and you may not make a tackle in 5 games, but if you force 7 fair catches because you've won the transition stage, you've got to the point of attack, those are tackles. I mean, at the end of the day, that's a tackle. I know it goes to Dustin also because he's punting the football, but at the end of the day, that gunner has made that play and forced that returner, who are great returners in this league, to not try and return the football.
You're walking through a special teams core that had some very good performances in 2011. Ryan Suckup, especially with his accuracy and field goals. Dustin Colquitt, another great year. But there was also some inconsistencies in that group, especially late in the season. Fans look at the Oakland Raiders loss in Week 16. How do you make this a more consistent group across the board?
I think consistency comes from winning on the practice field. You know, I think you have to take what you put in the classroom, and where you win quote-unquote games is you take the classroom, take it out to the practice field, win out on the practice field, put yourself in those situations. You know, you can't make field goals or miss field goals unless you do it in practice from the standpoint of you got to rush. You got to rush field goals, you got to rush punts, kickoff return unit, you got to challenge that kickoff coverage team in practice with the return schemes, but also from a speed standpoint and a practice tempo. It can't just be in the game. Now, you can't run their legs out, but at the same time, they need to see 1 or 2 reps where they see speed, the field goal unit up front. They need to see a rush, whether it just be a couple guys inside to keep guys, you know, you don't want guys to get injured, but they do need to see that rush. And the other thing is from a specialist standpoint, you know, they got to produce in practice too.
You were Romeo Crennel's first external hire from his first coaching staff in Kansas City. Why Kansas City? Why Coach Crennel?
Number one, you know, with Coach Crennel, he's a class act. When I had a chance to interview, I walked out of there, and the first thing I felt like, to be honest with you, is I felt like we have a chance to win the Super Bowl with this head coach. And Kansas City, no question from what you hear, fans love it. And I'll be honest with you, why Kansas City? Last year when we came here in the preseason, I've never been in 5 years in the NFL where in the preseason you pull in on your bus and the bus goes silent because of all those fans out there in the parking lot. And it was, you know, you come up and boom, all you see is, and this is a preseason game. So it shows you how much it means to them, which it must mean a bunch to the organization, because I think it trickles down from there.
We're going to get to that 10 times a year in 2012, not including home playoff games. And you're also reunited with a guy on staff that you worked with in Atlanta who has lived as a player on the field in Kansas City, and a very good one at that. Pro Football Hall of Famer Emmitt Thomas is a young coach with the Atlanta Falcons, new to the NFL. What was it like working with a guy like Emmitt?
It was an honor. And just to give you an example of how great it is to work with him, Emmitt's one of those guys that when you hear his voice and when he talks, he never wastes a word. So when he talks, everybody around him is listening, you know, and really listening. And you're taking in everything he says, you're learning from it. And it's not that he's trying to tell you how you should react to things, you know, within the league or within a game situation, but he's teaching. And he doesn't realize he's doing that. You know, he's just one of those rare guys that when he speaks, everybody around him is truly listening and learning.